In the cramped, smoke-filled restroom, the bully Logan squats and smokes, cursing the heat and the smell. He spits on the floor and glares, ordering Daniel, "Hey, use your fat body to block the door if a teacher comes." When Daniel doesn't answer immediately, Logan snaps, throwing his cigarette and shouting, "Are you mute? Answer me." Violence erupts. Logan forces Daniel to act like Pikachu, kicking him hard until Daniel screams in terror. Terrified of getting caught, Logan takes it out on Daniel, tearing at his clothes. "Do the elephant now, you idiot." A heavy kick lands on his chest. Daniel collapses, gasping for air as his vision blurs from the pain. In the classroom, the bullies just watch and laugh, mocking him like a circus animal. "Get up, Pikachu. Stop faking it." Tears streaming down his face, Daniel is forced to use Thunderbolt amidst the laughter, wishing he were dead. Logan casually explains it's his 100th day anniversary, planning to use Daniel as a prop for his twisted celebration. To amuse the girl, Daniel is forced to crawl on the floor like a dog, humiliated into looking up her skirt. As he hands over the flowers, he's forced to fart. The girl looks at him with disgust, and Daniel burns with shame. After a hellish day, he comes home to instant ramen. He feels pathetic relying on his mom, but craves the comfort. Mom scolds him for adding an egg. Unable to take it anymore, Daniel whispers, "I want to transfer schools." Mom turns in shock, listing their financial struggles. Daniel shrinks into the corner, drowning in despair. His grief turns into misdirected rage at his mom. He screams like a madman, "I don't need friends. I want to leave. What have you ever done for me?" He punches the wall, taking out all his trauma on the person who loves him most. Regret hits him instantly. He buries his face in the blanket, sobbing and apologizing to her in his heart. "I'm such garbage." He loathes himself, but the terror returns as he realizes he has to face that hellish school again. Walking to school the next day, his hand throbs. Nightmares of the bullying flash through his mind. Before he even enters, the nightmare voice calls out, "Hey, piggy." Logan is waiting on the steps, grinning. Oppression follows him everywhere. Logan steals his PE kit and mocks his weight. He lies to his mom to cover it up, but finally, he's had enough and steps into the staff room. The teacher is annoyed by the sudden transfer request. She mutters a half-hearted apology for neglecting him, only to deliver the crushing truth. With his grades, no school will take him. Inside, his mom stresses over the cost, counting every penny. Outside, Daniel is lost in thought until whim. A soccer ball smashes directly into his face. The impact drops him to his knees, trembling in pain. The bullies just laugh it's not an accident, but a gambling game using him as a living target. They even mock him for trying to dodge. The bespectacled lackey only cares about his lost bet, while the long-haired bully smirks, ready for another shot. Ignoring the girl's protests, he sprints forward, winding up for a brutal kick. Watching the ball rocket towards him, Daniel fears for his life. Instinct takes over, and he drops down just as the ball screams past his head, missing him by inches. He collapses in pain, glasses shattered on the ground. Tragically, his first thought isn't his injury, but terror that he made the bully, Logan, lose money on the bet. The nightmare continues as Logan grabs him by the neck. Despite girls trying to intervene, Daniel desperately begs to pay for the lost bet himself using his mom's hard-earned money. Logan isn't having it. He slaps Daniel repeatedly, the sound echoing in the air. Dizzy and humiliated, Daniel has no choice but to endure the beating in front of everyone. Suddenly, a pair of floral pants steps into the frame. A furious roar, "You goddamn jerks," freezes everyone in their tracks. His mom rushes in, checking his injuries and screaming at the bullies. But instead of relief, Daniel feels pure panic. His humiliation is now public, and he's mortified. While girls gossip, the bully claims it was just a game. Furious, Mom strikes back hard. "You call hitting someone a game?" Daniel turns pale with terror. Mom tries to drag the bully to the teacher, but Daniel's shame hits a breaking point. To protect his tiny shred of dignity, he screams at his protector, "Stop! You're embarrassing me." Mom freezes, then silently steps back in tears. Daniel makes the most cowardly choice possible. He turns and apologizes to his tormentor, Logan. He betrayed the only person who loves him. Night falls, but Daniel can't bring himself to enter his home. Memories of his cruelty sting like acid. He feels like absolute trash, unworthy of facing the light inside. Daniel sneaks home hungry, flinching at the pile of unpaid bills. He tries to slip into his room unnoticed, but freezes someone is already there. Mom sits on the bed, exhausted, and breaks the silence. We need to talk. The air is thick with awkwardness. Daniel freezes, unsure of what's coming. Transfer. The word hits him like a truck. Mom blames herself for his suffering and pretends his friends here don't matter. Daniel crumbles inside. She knew everything all along. She endured it all, pretending not to know about the bullying, just to save enough to send him away. Torn between guilt and the desperate need to escape, Daniel finally decides to leave this hell behind. Overwhelmed by guilt and sorrow, he collapses to his knees, screaming as tears pour down his face. He forced a smile to reassure his mom, but the moment he sat on the bus, the tears wouldn't stop. Even if it's running away, he clenches his fist, determined to restart his life in this new city. Even in this rundown shack he smiles, finally tasting the sweet freedom he craved. No one knows him here. Daniel walks the streets, vowing to be reborn as a new man. Like a cicada shedding its shell, he gathers his courage and steps into a hair salon to change. Intimidated by the fancy shop, he hides in a corner seat and stutters through the stylist's questions. The stylist tells him to lose the glasses. A few snips later, a stranger stares back from the mirror. He can't believe his eyes. Walking out, he feels everyone's gaze and his confidence skyrockets. Blind without his glasses, he makes tough faces in the mirror, deluding himself into thinking he's a fighter. While acting tough on the street, he locks eyes with a girl and instantly freezes in embarrassment. Misreading her fear as shyness, he puts on a creepy grin and tries to hit on her. Bad luck strikes. Her boyfriend arrives. It's the hot-headed boxer Zach. The air turns ice cold. The girl drags her boyfriend away, saving Daniel's skin, but Zach leaves him with a chilling threat. Instead of relief, he twists the memory, interpreting her apology as a sign of romantic interest. Desperate to keep up his cool act, he makes a fatal mistake and chases after the couple. Panting, he foolishly suggests they all grab coffee. Zach just responds with a cruel smirk. He thinks his plan worked, until Zach turns around, towering over him with terrifying intent. No words, just violence. A fist connects with his face, and he screams as his hair is yanked back. Worse than the pain is the sound of camera shutters. His humiliation goes viral instantly. Daniel curls up in the corner, phone screen illuminating his tear-streaked face. The bullying video has gone viral, and thousands of hateful comments flood in, crushing his soul. He checks his contacts for help but finds only his mom and delivery numbers. In this cramped room, the crushing reality of his isolation sets in. Screaming, "I'm human too!" Into the darkness, he sobs until his body gives out, finally collapsing into an exhausted sleep. He wakes up with a sudden start, needing the bathroom. As he stands, something feels off. His perspective is higher than usual. Feeling strangely light after using the toilet, he notices the ceiling is alarmingly close, and the sink looks way too low. Expecting swollen eyes from crying, he checks the mirror only to find a clear, sharp gaze with no trace of last night's trauma. He steps back and gasps. Reflected in the mirror is a tall, muscular stranger with a perfect physique, mirroring his shock. Time freezes. He stares blankly at this alien body, his brain completely short-circuiting, unable to form a single word. He collapses to the floor, the sharp pain confirming reality. Panic explodes. He frantically thinks about calling the police or his mom. He glances back at the bed, and his heart stops. His original, overweight self is still there, sleeping soundly. The situation is insane. His original body lies sleeping, while his consciousness has awakened inside this perfect vessel. Handsome Daniel hides behind the door, peeking nervously at the snoring figure on the bed, confirming it is definitely his original self. The muscles feel powerful, the sweat feels real. In this shabby room, the absurd reality of two bodies coexisting hits him hard. He frantically takes selfies and searches doppelganger online to no avail. His trembling finger hovers over the 911 dial button. Fear of becoming a lab rat or terrifying his mom stops him. He decides to bury this secret deep inside. Only I can fix this. Mustering his courage, he walks to the bed, intending to wake his sleeping original self to see what happens. He shakes the chubby body, calling out, "Hey, wake up!" Getting no response, he delivers a sharp slap to the face. Instant switch. He jolts awake in his chubby body, drenched in sweat. Seeing his familiar hands, he assumes it was just a vivid dream. He gets up to use the bathroom, turns his head, and freezes. The perfect body is actually sleeping right there. It wasn't a dream. Horror floods back. He frantically shakes the handsome body, screaming for it to wake up, desperate to understand this terrifying reality. Light fills the room as the familiar heavy body lies motionless on the bed, silence hanging in the air. Eyes snap open, it's the same ceiling. Fat Daniel sits up in cold sweat, realizing he's back in his original body. After a night of testing, he accepts the absurd reality. He truly possesses two bodies, and has no idea why. The rule is simple: when one wakes, the other sleeps. To switch back, Fat Daniel forces himself to drift off. Consciousness shifts instantly. Perfect Daniel wakes up refreshed, but realizes the sleeping body won't wake up no matter what. He tries a slap, and immediately blacks out. Forcing the sleeping body awake only makes the active one lose consciousness. Both bodies need basic care. He decides on a 12-hour shift, meaning his mind will be active 24/7. Staring at his sleeping self, a dark thought crosses his mind. What if this body disappeared? But school time arrives. Time for school. No longer the outcast, he steps out, his stunning looks immediately drawing stares from everyone. Just the breeze he creates walking by makes girls blush. This gentle treatment from the world feels strangely intoxicating. A minor bump, and strangers worry if he's hurt. The world looks smaller from this height. The contrast is unbelievable. One look, and a girl's heart skips a beat. He's instantly labeled a 10A treatment worlds apart from his past. The uniform fits perfectly, but inside this flawless exterior, he's still the scared boy, anxious about being bullied again. Memories of being a human fan for bullies flood back. The trauma lingers, haunting him despite his new body. The humiliation feels fresh, kneeling, fanning bullies, only to be mocked. That was when he wanted to end it all. Teacher storms in, interrupting the noise and his anxious flashback, announcing the arrival of a new transfer student. Daniel walks in, and the class goes silent. Jaws drop as everyone stares at the radiant transfer student. Girls scream in delight, while guys glare warily. Daniel looks cool on the outside, but is panicking on the inside. He just wants a peaceful life. Determined not to repeat last year's nightmare, he tries to befriend his desk mate. He turns with a smile, but freezes instantly. Sitting right next to him is the blonde bully who beat him to a pulp. Despite the admiration from the class, Daniel is sweating bullets, terrified of messing up his new perfect image. He even prepped with a curling iron. Suddenly, chaos erupts. A gust of wind lifts a skirt, freezing the room in awkward shock. Ignoring the jealous whispers, Zoe, the class flirt, makes her move. She strides right up to Daniel, introduces herself, and playfully teases, "Handsome thing." Daniel is completely frozen by her boldness. Daniel turns beet red. He's never been flirted with before. But Zach, seething with jealousy, cuts in coldly, "Stop flirting and sit." It's annoying. Daniel internally cheers, grateful for the interruption. Matters get worse when Mira starts staring at Daniel too. Zach looks ready to kill. Daniel sweats profusely, sensing the hostility. This new arts high school is already feeling like a battlefield. It's a different world here. Students alter uniforms and dye their hair freely. The halls are filled with future idols and models. Amidst this overwhelming freedom, the lunch bell finally rings. The cafeteria transforms into a fan club. Daniel simply grabs a tray, and girls scream in admiration. He is the new superstar, while others watch in anxious jealousy. The boys whisper jealously about the new transfer. Suddenly, Zach interrupts, his eyes wide with aggression. "We need to talk after lunch," he demands. Daniel freezes, terror washing over him. The dark alley triggers instant panic. The shadows, the looming figures. Daniel knows this routine too well. It's a terrifying flashback to all the times he was cornered and beaten in his past life. Zach lights a cigarette, sizing Daniel up like prey. "You work out?" He sneers, mocking Daniel's perfect physique. He presses him to introduce girls, leaving Daniel trembling and helpless. Desperate to avoid a beating, Daniel blurts out, "I don't know any girls." The confession freezes the room. Zach and his crew gasp in shock. Their cool rival is actually a total loser? Daniel is actually frozen in terror, but Zach misinterprets his stiffness as stoic toughness. Disappointed and annoyed, the bullies storm off. Safe but exhausted, Daniel collapses at his desk and falls asleep. While his handsome body dozes off at school, his consciousness snaps back to the shabby apartment. His original, overweight body wakes up in a cold sweat. He realizes the trap. If one body sleeps, the other must wake up. Disaster? Since his original body is fully rested, he can't fall back asleep. This leaves his handsome body stuck in a coma at school. As the girl reaches out to poke him in class, Daniel screams in frustration back home. "Wake up!" The girl slaps his back, forcing a consciousness switch. Daniel bolts upright, his handsome body screaming the profanity his original self was just thinking. The sudden outburst shocks the entire class. Daniel is mortified he just swore in class. But miraculously, the outburst backfires in a good way. The girl, far from offended, finds his sudden bad boy attitude incredibly cool and swoons. Night falls, and Daniel returns to his original, overweight body. He takes a graveyard shift at a convenience store. Customers treat him like furniture, a harsh reminder of the cold reality this body faces. He walked in with the confidence of his new body, fantasizing about a handsome clerk scenario where he'd attract female fans and boost sales. A naive dream clashing with his current reality. The owner hires him instantly. Daniel's thrill is crushed when the owner clarifies, "Not for you, for your handsome friend." He's mistaken for a messenger, and his excitement turns to bitter disappointment. Desperate, Daniel recites every cigarette brand from memory. Stunned by this skill, the owner reluctantly hires him but still ends by begging him to bring his handsome friend around. The double life begins. By day, a beloved star. By night, an invisible outcast. Shifting every 12 hours, he's trapped between a beautiful dream and a cold reality, unsure which one defines him. A nightmare comes to life. As the convenience store bell rings, Daniel freezes. Walking in are the very bullies who torment him at school. Panic grips him instantly. Forced to check IDs, Daniel hands over a fake one claiming he's a fighter pilot born in '84. The ridiculous lie is instantly exposed, plunging him into utter humiliation. Zach, the temperamental bully, turns to leave but suddenly locks eyes with the clerk. Recognition flashes in his mind. This fat guy looks dangerously familiar. He knows. Zach's expression twists into disgust. Daniel trembles in terror, realizing his cover is blown. In the silent night, a storm is about to break. Zach is in a foul mood after being rejected by his crush. He takes his anger out on the clerk, while his friends gossip that the girl actually likes the new transfer student. The mention of the handsome transfer student sends Zach into a jealous rage. He imagines his crush with a new guy, terrifying the trembling Daniel with his outburst. With nowhere else to vent, Zach unleashes his fury on the weak. He brutally beats Daniel, channeling all his hatred for the handsome guy into every punch. As if the beating wasn't enough, Zach forces the bruised Daniel to pose for a humiliating photo as insurance against the police. His dignity is utterly crushed. Hiding in a dark corner, Daniel calls his mom. Hearing her cheerful voice, he holds back tears and pain, forcing a smile to lie about how great he's doing. His mom is lying too. She isn't on a stroll, but working late in a scrap-filled room. Both hide their pain to protect the other, a heartbreaking cycle of love and sacrifice. Hanging up, Daniel cries himself to sleep in his cramped room. The long nightmare finally ends as the sun rises, signaling a new day. He wakes up transformed. His body feels light as a feather yet bursting with explosive power. He clenches his fist in disbelief. It feels like a dream. A simple jump sends him soaring. The control is intoxicating. As he arrives at school in this perfect skin, gasps of admiration from girls surround him instantly. Despite the hero's welcome, the shadows of trauma linger. Walking into class, he spots Zach the demon from last night and fear comes rushing back. Zach is bragging about beating up a pig last night. When he announces he has a nude photo of the victim, Daniel's mind goes blank with shock. Watching them laugh at his other body's humiliation, Daniel clenches his fist until it cracks. It's not just a photo, it's his dignity on display. Rage finally ignites. While the girls recoil in disgust, Zach beams with pride. Daniel maintains a cool exterior, but inside, he's screaming desperately, "Stop! Don't show them!" Even the newbie who liked Zach is terrified, and Mira is visibly disgusted by his violent behavior. Zach's bragging is only making him look like a thug. Whispers fill the room. Zach was a boxing prodigy in middle school. Hearing about his glory days, Daniel feels only irony. Are professional fists meant for beating the weak? While Daniel trembles sitting next to the bully, Zoe, the class queen, swoops in. Ignoring Zach completely, she flirts aggressively with Daniel, making the tension even thicker. The bullies cross the line, spewing vile insults about his mother without a shred of empathy. Guilt pierces through him as he remembers his mother's struggle. He decides he can't stay silent anymore. "You've gone too far." His cold voice cuts through the air, freezing the bullies in visible shock. Humiliated in front of his crush Mira, Zach kicks over a desk, his temper exploding instantly. Word spreads like wildfire. Everyone rushes to see the showdown between the new heartthrob and the boxer. They stand face to face, but beneath the cool exterior, Daniel is terrified, knowing he has no fighting skills. Zack clenches his fist, confident in a one-punch knockout, while Daniel stands frozen in sheer terror. Suddenly, the silent Jae-hong steps in, catching Zack's fist with a grip surprisingly like steel. Enraged, Zack shakes off the interference and lunges at Daniel, screaming in uncontrolled fury. Seeing the fist approach, Daniel is triggered by memories of his childhood trauma, a fear he knows too well. Having been hit so many times, he developed an instinct. The incoming punch looks like it's moving in slow motion. In his old body, his mind worked, but his heavy limbs couldn't react, leaving him helpless. But this time is different. His perfect body reacts instantly, effortlessly dodging the lethal blow. The crowd erupts in shock. Daniel stares at his hands, realizing for the first time that his body obeys his will. Flashback to Zack's past. He was always a fighting prodigy, too fast for anyone to touch. In high school, he remained undefeated, finding violence boringly easy due to his overwhelming speed. Back in the present, Zack can't land a single hit. Daniel dodges everything, leaving the crowd dumbfounded. Noticing Mira watching, Zack's ego crumbles, and he launches a desperate, full-force attack to save face. But in that split second, the killer punch is anticipated. Daniel reads the move without breaking a sweat. Zack gasps for air, unable to believe his moves were read so easily, while Daniel remains perfectly calm. Zack is exhausted, sweat dripping as he dodges, but the crowd's noise fades. A dark memory triggers insults about pigs and his mother, igniting a deep, blinding rage. Fueled by confusion and anger, Daniel lashes out, screaming, "What did I do wrong?" But Zack weaves effortlessly, a master of dodging, leaving Daniel frozen in shock. A heavy thud. Daniel's fist buries itself in Zack's gut. The boxer crumples, gasping for air, while bystanders watch in awe. That was a perfect strike to the solar plexus. The impact triggers a chaotic montage of violence, fists flying, phones recording, humiliation. It's a brutal reminder of the cycle of abuse, blurring the line between predator and prey. Muscles tense, eyes sharpen like blades. Silence falls, broken only by the squeak of sneakers and the grip on fabric. The air is thick with impending violence. It's over in a split second. Daniel lands a devastating blow, sending Zack crashing to the floor, bloody and broken. The hallway erupts. Nobody can believe the boxer was taken down in one shot. Daniel stares at his trembling hands, horrified by his own strength. Yet the crowd cheers wildly, praising the ruthless knockout. The disconnect between his guilt and their bloodlust is sickening. The admiration feels toxic. Panicking, Daniel thinks of Mira and snaps. Drenched in sweat, he screams at the smiling faces around him. "Did you enjoy that? Look away." Looking in the mirror, a ghost of his past self stares back. The realization hits hard. He has become the very thing he hated, a predator instilling fear in others. Rewind to the restroom, thick with smoke. A group of delinquents is plotting. With Zack out of the picture, they see an opening to jump the new transfer student. While the gang brags about their ambush plans, Zack sits alone in an empty classroom. He hears the rumors but dismisses the plotters with a cold, cynical sneer. Word spreads fast. Then Jean is jealous. Eli sees a potential model, but Vasco tears up in anger. To him, this handsome fighter is just another bully that needs to be taken down. Jay is sprinting down the hall, desperate for a bathroom break. He skids to a halt, eyes widening in shock as he runs smack into an intimidating figure blocking his path. Cut to the aftermath. The ambushers are writhing on the floor in pain. Jay stands silently by the door, adjusting his cuffs. The quiet boy just took out the trash without saying a word. Back in his cramped room, Daniel wakes up in his original, overweight body. Staring at his sleeping, perfect alter ego, the contrast stings. Hero by day, outcast by night. At the convenience store, the difference is brutal. As his fat self, he gets looks of disgust. He realizes people judge him solely on his appearance, and the unfairness cuts deep. Even a beggar looks at him with pity. At 3 a.m., the streets are empty, and Daniel is left alone with his thoughts, trapped in the crushing solitude of the night shift. Determined to change, he tries doing push-ups, but collapses in exhaustion. Just as he's groaning on the floor, the bell rings. A gorgeous girl walks in, catching him in his most embarrassing moment. He braces for disgust, but she smiles warmly, apologizes, and hands him a drink. Used to cruelty, this simple act of kindness hits him hard, leaving him stunned and grateful. While Daniel floats on cloud 9, the streets remain dangerous. Thugs are hunting for Zach, and the sweet girl reveals a fiery temper outside, screaming at her entourage to leave. The thugs panic in the shadows, terrified the nerd might leak their dirty secrets, so the leader's eyes go cold as he decides to silence him for good. The phone rings like a death knell in the dead of night, jolting the four eyes awake, and terror grips him the moment he sees who's calling. Without a second to lose, he scrambles out the door and sprints through the empty streets, desperate to meet the bully's deadline. Still gasping for air, he drops to his knees begging for forgiveness, only for the bully to wave a dead phone, mocking his sheer panic. Pushing their luck, the gang blackmails the nerd into stealing a charger, forcing him to walk toward the counter with a heavy heart. He steps into the store, palm sweating, only to find the clerk is another chubby pushover, sparking a twisted sense of kinship. The nerd trembles as he swipes the charger, heart pounding out of his chest, while the chubby clerk stares him down in suffocating silence. Overwhelmed by terror, the nerd snaps, his mind flooded with the bully's sneers, as he suddenly lets out a manic scream. He bolts for the exit in a blind panic, only to trip over his own shoelaces and crash hard onto the floor. The chubby clerk rushes to help, but the thugs stroll in and immediately start spewing insults at the poor employee. The scumbags come up with a sick game, forcing the nerd and the clerk to fight each other in a twisted battle of the losers. While the thugs threaten a girl with nude photos, a tattooed man in a nearby car takes off his headphones, his gaze turning ice cold. The bully offers a tempting deal. If the nerd beats the clerk, he'll finally be free from their torment. Desperate for freedom, the nerd throws a punch, and the chubby clerk, sensing his agony, simply stands there and takes the hit. Just as the tragedy escalates, the tattooed powerhouse Vasco steps in like a mountain, his roar silencing the entire crowd. No words needed, Vasco grabs the thug and unleashes a beating, his iron fists instantly teaching the scum a lesson. As the thugs beg for mercy, Vasco asks about the transfer student who beat the boxer, and the chubby clerk freezes that's his other body. Watching Vasco leave, the duo realizes this is the legendary Robin Hood of the architecture department, who crushes bullies and protects the weak. Lunchtime chaos erupts as the handsome transfer student steps into the cafeteria, instantly becoming the center of attention amidst the girls' screams. Unexpectedly, the fierce-looking Vasco walks straight up to the handsome protagonist, and the air instantly thickens with tension. Tension fills the cafeteria entrance as the sunglasses bully and his crew corner a nervous student, marking him as their prey for the day. Hearing whispers comparing him to the new transfer student, the sunglasses guy bristles, arrogantly claiming he's the better-looking one. Humiliated by talk of his past loss to Zach, the sunglasses bully lashes out, trying to regain dominance by provoking bystanders. The situation explodes as the bully grabs the other guy's hat, fist cocked and eyes screaming violence. But suddenly, cold sweat drips down the bully's face. He realizes if he had struck, the new kid would have countered instantly. Daniel spots Vasco, the tattooed guy who helped him yesterday, and excitedly rushes over, missing the cold, hostile stare waiting for him. Vasco mistakes Daniel for a troublemaker picking a fight, while Daniel freezes, terrified by Vasco's menacing glare. Without a word, Vasco's massive hand clamps onto Daniel's shoulder, his vice-like grip sending a shock of pain through Daniel. The crowd gasps, recognizing Vasco's infamous death claw, but to everyone's shock, Daniel remains standing despite the crushing pressure. Daniel politely apologizes through the pain. Realizing his mistake, Vasco lets go, stunned that the boy withstood his grip. The room erupts in disbelief. This slim transfer student just effortlessly neutralized Vasco's monstrous strength with one hand. Vasco stares at his hand in shock. He had squeezed with full force, yet it felt like grabbing a steel beam. Vasco's lieutenant, watching closely, breaks into a cold sweat, realizing this pretty boy hides a terrifying, monstrous strength. Though shocked, Vasco's pride, as the leader of the burned knuckles, won't let him back down easily. He clenches his fist again. Luckily, the lieutenant steps in to de-escalate, clarifying the situation before the tension can explode into a real fight. As he leaves, Daniel turns to the bullied student and drops a line of encouragement. "Don't give up," instantly winning the crowd over. Back in class, Daniel becomes the center of attention, even catching the eye of the aloof purple-haired student. In the dim restroom, a group of smoking delinquents schemes, eyeing Daniel's strength and plotting to recruit him into their circle. After school, the gang corners Daniel, putting on fake smiles to invite him to a welcoming party. Completely oblivious to the danger, innocent Daniel tears up, imagining a wholesome night of karaoke and amusement parks with new friends. Naive fantasies of sticker photos and wholesome fun fill his head, sweating with pure excitement for the hangout. While a girl eavesdrops nearby, ominous texts light up his phone with coordinates to a sketchy back alley. Walking into the gloom, trauma from cyberbullying resurfaces as he doubts a restaurant could exist in this dump. Standing before a graffiti-covered door, he desperately deludes himself into expecting a hidden gourmet gem inside. He takes a deep breath and slides the door open, only to be slapped in the face by a wall of smoke and noise. It's a smoke-filled delinquent den. Zoe is already there, feigning a coincidence to cling to him. Forced to sit among alcohol and bullies, he freezes in terror, realizing he's trespassed into forbidden territory. A shot glass is thrust into his hand. The air thickens with peer pressure as they demand he drink. Accused of lying about not drinking, he panics and forces the alcohol down his throat in one gulp. Surrounded by profanity and smoke, Daniel feels his innocence rotting away in this corrupted chaos. The revelation that he lives alone sends the group into a frenzy of admiration for his freedom. He clarifies he lives with a dropout friend, and their admiration instantly sours into judgment and shock. To hide his secret, he lies that his oversized clothes belong to his fat friend, mocking his own true self. The lie holds, but he must endure their mockery of his fat roommate and Zoe's touchy advances. The intimidation spikes as the fierce owner barges in, warning the underage kids to keep it down. Her commanding presence silences the room, even making the arrogant Zach look nervous. But upon spotting handsome Daniel, the owner flips instantly, her glare melting into predatory lust. She aggressively throws herself at Daniel, offering to feed him, while Zoe watches in stunned jealousy. Chaos erupts as boys get nosebleeds from the scene, and Daniel sweats bullets under the owner's interrogation. Sparks fly as the cougar and the girl lock eyes in a dragon-tiger rivalry, while Zach just misses his girlfriend. The camera pans to a corner where a group of shady adults are playing cards, smoking, and glaring at the students, cursing them for being too noisy. The thug leader glares with pure malice, causing the couple nearby to jump in fright, the girl shrinking back in terror. The woman in the tank top sneers, slut-shaming Mira and calling her cheap, while the man beside her looks visibly agitated. On the other side, handsome Daniel is wasted, hammering drinks with a wild look in his eyes, terrifying the bystanders who fear he's about to snap. Daniel lies motionless on the table before swaying to his feet, causing the boy next to him to scream in terror. "He's gonna hit me again!" But instead of throwing a punch, drunk Daniel grins idiotically and leans in for a hug, slurring, "Let's be friends, you're really handsome." With a loud smooch, Daniel kisses the boy on the cheek, leaving everyone frozen in shock and pure cringe at his drunken antics. Daniel then clings to Mira, drunkenly claiming her, while Mira dies of embarrassment as her mom cheerfully offers him another drink. Thinking it's water, Daniel chugs it down, only to become a human fountain a second later, realizing he just downed straight soju. He breaks down crying instantly, consumed by guilt about being 17, apologizing to his mom, and convinced he's committed a grave crime. The adults nearby don't let up, mocking the kids' lack of manners and threatening to teach them a lesson, terrifying the eavesdropping Jiho. Applying lipstick, the heavily made-up woman sneers, "Ugly girls walking around with their boobs out thinking they're hot?" leaving Jiho confused but sensing danger. Suddenly, the woman snaps her head around, eyes blazing with fury, as if she just heard the kids whispering back at her. Tension spikes as the adults get louder, completely disregarding the setting, their words dripping with provocation and threats toward the students. The thug picks his teeth nonchalantly, dismissing the students, while Jiho trembles in fear as the three burly men opposite them glare with murderous intent. The woman keeps ranting about sluts, oblivious to her own hypocrisy, until she suddenly snaps, crushing the cup in her hand with a sharp crack. While Jiho panics about getting caught drinking underage, the woman launches another attack. "Why do flat-chested girls wear bras? To stay warm?" mocking them relentlessly. The boy is losing his mind, stuck taking care of a drunk while enduring these insults, his patience wearing dangerously thin. "What did you say?" the woman finally snaps, slamming the table. The boy is terrified, realizing they've crossed a line and are in deep trouble. Chaos erupts as insults fly, calling each other sluts. Caught in the middle, the boy screams in panic. "She started it!" as the situation spirals out of control. Suddenly, Daniel's world starts spinning. His heart races uncontrollably. This perfect body has zero tolerance for alcohol. The bully spits out his cigarette, looking annoyed. He points a finger at them, ready to start trouble just to flex his authority. Outnumbered, the students beg for mercy on their knees. Meanwhile, a drunk Daniel just stares blankly, completely out of the loop. Refusing to believe their age, the thugs get violent. One grabs Daniel by the hair and shoves him hard. Chaos erupts. Daniel is choked, his friends scream in terror, but the bully stares coldly, showing no sign of stopping. Suddenly, Daniel stumbles to his feet. His eyes are glazed but intense, radiating a strange power that freezes the room. Drunk Daniel enters lecture mode, scolding the bullies for their bad manners. The absurdity of it actually makes the girls swoon. He snatches the phone used for creep shots, trembling with rage. His grip tightens, and the air grows heavy. With a sickening crunch, he crushes the phone with one hand. The bullies watch in absolute horror. His monstrous strength terrifies them. Daniel thinks, I need to apologize, unaware of how menacing he looks. He grabs the bully to make peace, but his grip is like iron. The guy thinks he's about to be crushed and panics. Daniel tries to pour a drink to apologize, but his hand slips. The bottle smashes on the table, creating an awkward silence. Holding the jagged bottle neck, he blushes and says sorry. To everyone else, he looks like a psycho wielding a weapon. Seeing this demon approach with a glass shank, the bullies lose it. Don't apologize while holding that thing. Embarrassed in front of his girlfriend, the leader's fear turns to rage. He grit his teeth, desperate to save face. He screams about ruling his high school, but the college kids just laugh. Bro, we're 20. Who cares about high school? Despite the tough talk, he knows this kid is dangerous. He secretly grips a bottle, ready for a desperate fight. Tension peaks. The bully sweats profusely, while his girlfriend looks annoyed. The farce is about to get violent. He keeps yelling about his school legend status, oblivious to the fact that everyone is looking at him like he's an idiot. The bullies laugh it off and talk trash, but deep down, they're relieved the kid actually left. Daniel is totally confused, but his classmates are cheering him on like a hero who just scared off the bullies. Back on the streets, the bullies are at it again, picking fights and yelling at passers-by. Suddenly, 3 goofy underclassmen pop up with the school's signature hot salute, annoying the seniors. The sunglass-wearing bully tries to take the junior's bike, leaving the kid cowering and stammering excuses. As soon as the name comes up, the bully's face drops. Whoever took the bike is clearly a nightmare to them. Since they can't get the bike, they decide to change targets and go after that fresh-faced new kid in fashion class. Meanwhile, Daniel's perfect body can't handle the liquor. His eyes glaze over as the alcohol kicks in hard. Everyone's bragging about fights, and a wasted Daniel just giggles along amidst the chaotic cheering. The vibe turns creepy fast. The sleazy senior puts a hand on Daniel's shoulder, whispering disgusting suggestions. That touch hits a nerve. Daniel snaps, shaking off the hand with a glare that could kill. Fueled by liquid courage, he screams out his suppressed trauma, asking these bullies if they know what it feels like to be a victim. He cries out in desperation, and his raw emotion actually terrifies the bullies, who were just laughing a moment ago. But then, a twist: he was just thirsty. The screaming was dehydration, and he starts chugging water like a maniac. One last gulp, and the perfect body shuts down completely, collapsing to the floor while everyone panics. Instantly, his original body wakes up in the shabby apartment. He finally realizes the rule: when one sleeps, the other awakens. That Daniel panics. His perfect body is passed out with dangerous guys. He tries to force himself back to sleep to save it. Finally, he manages to force his anxious body to shut down, sinking back into sleep. In his dream, his mom is rich, and he's top of the class. It's a perfect, beautiful fantasy. He opens his eyes to the familiar ceiling and his chubby hands. He actually slept peacefully for an hour, but what about his other body? That Daniel wakes up screaming, sweat dripping. He checks his hands. He didn't switch. Panic sets in instantly. Thoughts race. Was it the alcohol? He scrambles out the door, barefoot and desperate to verify the truth. Lungs burning, he tears through the night streets. He slides to a halt in front of the door. Made it. He bursts in to find his perfect body passed out cold. Slaps don't work. He's totally wasted. Relief washes over him. His throat tightens. For strangers are standing around his sleeping body. They turn slowly, glaring right at him. Bad luck. They recognize him as the convenience store fatty. He hopes for kindness, but dread sinks into his stomach. Their smiles twist into predatory sneers. They circle like hyenas. Trembling, he feigns ignorance and pretends to eat. The girl demands to know who he is. He falls to his knees, screaming internally for his other body. It's right there, but he can't touch it. Suddenly, a drunk Zack stumbles forward. He spreads his arms wide and shouts, "Piggy!" The enthusiasm is terrifying. Zack crushes him in a bear hug, defending, "It's Piggy!" Seizing the chance, Fat Daniel lies. He's here to pick up his friend. The room erupts in disbelief. Fat Daniel is friends with the school star? He sweats bullets, terrified his lie will crumble. They misunderstand completely, pitying cool Daniel as a gangster slave. The girl excitedly tries to fish for his address. Zack wraps an arm around him, slurring forgiveness. Then, a creepy grin spreads. He insists on showing Piggy something special. Dragged to an arcade, Fat Daniel is trapped in Zack's chokehold. Zack's eyes gleam as he commands, "Watch this!" A punching machine. Zack snaps out of a flashback and barks at Fat Daniel to pay attention. He's serious. Zack shifts into coaching mode, demonstrating the perfect boxing stance. Fat Daniel watches, bewildered. Why is his bully teaching him? Step, rotate, drive. Zack breaks down the mechanics before slamming his fist into the bag with explosive force. The machine screams 892. A new record. Fat Daniel's jaw drops. The sheer power is terrifying to witness. Now you can fight back. Zack mumbles before vomiting everywhere. The chaotic night finally ends as the group splits up. Finally alone. Fat Daniel eyes the punching machine. The street is empty. Hesitantly, he steps up. Should I try it? Back home, little Daniel stands trembling. But he gathers his courage, visualizing the moves he saw, attempting his first real punch. Meanwhile, a thunderous sound echoes in the arcade. Vasco unleashes a textbook straight punch, so powerful it slices through the air. But Daniel whiffs completely. Exhausted, he gives up, feeling hopeless, unaware that someone is watching him from the shadows. It's Vasco and his right-hand man. Wearing their burn knuckles jackets, they watch the chubby figure leave, intrigued by what they just saw. Vasco steps up to the punching machine, his gaze turning sharp. He winds up and delivers a massive blow. The score skyrockets, smashing the record. But Vasco isn't satisfied. He glares at the machine, ready to test his limits even further. With a deafening crash, the machine's target pad rips apart. The sheer power leaves everyone watching in absolute shock. Elsewhere, little Daniel drags his exhausted body down the empty street, looking lonely and defeated. Finally home, he waits for the alcohol to fade. He shakes the sleeping body, and his consciousness successfully shifts once again. It's Zack, dressed to kill. Remembering Mira said she'd be studying here, he's been waiting for this exact moment. Back in class, he insisted on tagging along. Blushing, he promised Mira he wouldn't start any fights, just to be near her. Standing there now, he fights his own temper. Even as passers-by judge his fierce glare, he grits his teeth and holds back. Seeing Mira approach in casual clothes, Zack is struck speechless. His heart races. She looks absolutely beautiful. He rushes to pay the fee. A simple thank you from Mira puts him on cloud nine. This isn't a library, it's paradise. Watching Mira walk up the stairs, Zack grins. He fantasizes about sitting next to her, savoring every second of their time together. But reality hits hard. The study rooms are gender separated. While Mira is happy, Zack sits alone, suffering in silence. The co-ed room is full, so he's stuck here. His tight clothes are uncomfortable, and he's bored out of his mind, scratching the desk in frustration. Just as he's about to explode, his phone buzzes. It's Mira asking if he's hungry. Zack instantly lights up and replies, "Let's go." Handsome Daniel tries to study in the library, but a girl keeps pestering him. He finds her incredibly annoying and awkwardly shushes her to maintain the silence. The library is too noisy, so the scene shifts to Zack and Mira shopping. Mira suddenly points someone out, and Zack's expression darkens. It's the ringleader who used to bully Daniel. The gold-chain bully feels eyes on him and gets annoyed. He turns to see Zack staring him down intensely. The tension spikes as the bully's temper starts to flare. Back at the library, Zack munches on a hot dog, confused by all the couples who definitely aren't studying. He can't stand it, tells Mira he's stepping out, and grabs a drink to get some air. He sneaks a cigarette behind a wall, terrified Mira might catch him. When passers-by spot him, he panics, hides the smoke, and pretends to ask for directions, heart pounding. Zack looks regretfully at his burnout cigarette. Before he can react, a mocking laugh cuts through the air. The gold-chain bully approaches with a smirk, ready to start trouble. In a narrow alley, the gold-chain bully squats arrogantly, backed by his crew, blocking Zack's path. They spew insults trying to provoke him, but Zack just stares them down coldly, silent. Meanwhile, Daniel's mom wanders the confusing alleys of Seoul, clutching a crumpled address. Sweating and carrying a worn-out bag, she desperately searches for her son, worried sick. Fat Daniel sleeps soundly in his small room, and consciousness shifts. Handsome Daniel stands under the blue sky, looking confused and groggy, as if just waking up. Back in the alley near the library, the bullies have Zack surrounded. The bald guy and the gold chain leader threaten to teach him a lesson, and the tension hits a breaking point. The bullies mock him, bringing up old humiliations and calling him a crybaby. Zack recalls the shame, but Myra's voice hating violence echoes in his mind, forcing him to grit his teeth and endure it. Zack keeps his hands in his pockets, suppressing the urge to fight, and warns them to back off. The bullies flinch at his aura, but realize he won't strike, erupting into even louder, mocking laughter. Zack chooses to walk away, letting them go. The bullies mistake his restraint for weakness, shouting insults at his back, convinced he's scared, and decide to follow him to the snack shop. Zack returns to the snack shop, greeted by Myra's smile, but the bullies barge in. They deliberately cut in line, shoving Zack aside and calling him a loser, testing his limits. Faced with such blatant provocation, Zack's fist clenches tight enough to draw blood. When Mira asks what's wrong, he instantly relaxes his hand, forcing a smile and lying that everything is fine. As soon as Mira steps away, the bullies start trashing the place. Zack turns to find the limited edition chips he bought for Mira are gone, and his temper finally ignites. He turns to see the three bullies lounging in chairs, loudly crunching on the honey butter chips. Watching the crumbs fall, Zack's patience snaps completely. Zack storms up to confront them, but they just wave the chip bag mockingly. To keep the violence away from Mira, Zack takes a deep breath and signals toward the men's room, inviting them inside. Out of sight, the bully leader gets even cockier, using a rubber band to shoot torn paper scraps at Zack's face, laughing hysterically, oblivious to the danger. Zack suddenly realizes, stealing, cutting lines, flicking paper, these were the exact things he used to do. Karma hits hard. Snapping, he lets out a roar and finally throws a punch no more holding back. The three thugs are laughing hysterically, thinking they scared the guy off. But then Zack rises from his seat, radiating pure menace. Their laughter dies instantly, replaced by sheer terror as they realize they've messed with a monster. The door slams shut to the sound of mocking laughter. Outside, Zack crouches by the bench, physically shaking with rage. He screams internally to stay calm, fighting a losing battle against his own temper. Mira asks if something's wrong, and Zack forces a smile, lying that he's fine to save the date. Inside, he's fuming, remembering how a thug just grabbed his hair and humiliated him. He's swallowing his pride just for her. The thug roughly messes up the hair Zack spent 40 minutes styling, mocking him relentlessly. Zack grits his teeth and takes it, terrified of fighting in front of Mira. The crowd laughs, while Mira stands there, mouth open in total shock. Zack tries to be polite, but the bald thug ignores him and starts hitting on Mira. Bystanders mock Myra's looks, calling her plastic. Watching his girl get insulted, Zack's patience is snapping, his rage reaching a boiling point. Zack tries to walk away to keep his promise, but the thugs won't let up. The bald guy reaches out and grabs Myra's shoulder, startling her. That physical contact snaps Zack's last thread of restraint. Restraint gone, Zack unleashes a devastating punch straight to the bald guy's face. The impact is visceral, blood flies, and the thug's face distorts as he's sent flying. Pure explosive rage. The crowd gasps in shock at the one-punch knockout. While the thug twitches on the ground, Zack turns his back to Mira and whispers a heavy sorry. He knows he broke his promise, and the guilt hits instantly. The crowd recognizes him as Zack the boxer and recoil in fear. Zack stands there, eyes burning with intensity, fists clenched tight. His only thought is a cold realization: they never should have touched Mira. No holding back now. Zack tears through the remaining two thugs, slamming them into walls as they scream in agony. He turns back, face bloodied and cold. This isn't just a fight. It's brutal revenge for insulting Mira. Mira stands by the vending machine, completely shocked by the violence. The thugs cower in a corner. The scene cuts away to a quiet alley, where Fat Daniel lies asleep, smiling in a dream, oblivious to the chaos. Daniel's mom sits by the bed, watching her son sleep with weary, loving eyes. But at the door of the rundown shack, the handsome, perfect Daniel stands ready to enter, creating a tense moment of collision. That night, Zach wakes up in a panic and texts Mira, apologizing for the fight. Her reply is a cold whatever. Zach collapses in despair, head in his hands, convinced he's completely ruined his chances. On the other side, Mira sits on her bed, reading Zach's clumsy apology. Instead of being angry, she smiles softly. She starts typing a reply inviting him to the library, forgiving him without a word. Back in the shack, Mom tries to wake the sleeping Fat Daniel. Suddenly, the door opens, and the handsome, perfect Daniel walks in. Mom looks up, completely frozen in shock at the stranger in her house. Mom asks who he is, and Daniel freezes. He forgot she doesn't know this body. Panic sets in as he scrambles for an excuse. He quickly bows and greets her politely, pretending to be a stranger to hide the secret. Thinking fast, Daniel lies through his teeth, claiming he's a friend living with Daniel to save on rent. Mom is taken aback by the sudden roommate news, but seems to buy the story. He praises Fat Daniel for working hard, and Mom beams with pride. But when she asks his name, he blunders and gives his real name, Daniel Park. Mom gasps, thinking it's an amazing twist of fate that they share the same name. The coincidence breaks the ice. Mom, eager to hear more about her son, excitedly invites the handsome roommate to a coffee shop. Daniel follows, feeling a mix of warmth and guilt as he sees how much she cares. As the cafe door opens, every head turns instantly. Daniel Park walks in, his model-like physique stealing the spotlight and silencing the room in awe. The shop erupts in whispers. While a lady nearby screams frantically into her phone in excitement, Daniel stays cool, walking to the counter to order an Americano. Flashback to the past. Mom clutches her son's pant leg, sweating nervously. Terrified by the prices, she timidly asks for instant coffee, her embarrassment heartbreaking to watch. Back then, chubby Daniel gritted his teeth and treated her to that luxury coffee. Only now does he realize that his hard-working mother had never stepped foot in a cafe before. In his memory, Mom happily slurped that bitter coffee, still doting on her son. In reality, handsome Daniel sits at the table, tears welling up as the memory hits him hard. Just then, Vasco approaches with a tray, his tattoos contrasting with the delicate task. The staff whisper in shock, surprised to see this tough guy at a cafe with an elderly lady collecting scrap. While Vasco sulks over his milk, the auntie won't stop bragging about her son. Hearing her praise perfect Daniel, Vasco breaks into a cold sweat, drowning in secondhand embarrassment. Mom keeps asking if Daniel is doing okay, every question overflowing with care. Listening from the shadows, Daniel feels a pang of guilt. He's never opened up to her like this before. Vasco steps in to help carry the scrap boxes, but freezes when he sees her face. It's Daniel's mom. She frantically begs him to keep it a secret, terrified of embarrassing her son. She forces a crumpled 5,001 bill into his hand, asking him to look out for her son. Vasco stares at the small change, then at her tattered sleeves, and his heart just breaks. Her only request isn't for herself. She just begs him not to let Daniel get bullied. Vasco clenches his jaw, looking at her humility, and makes a solemn promise, "I've got him." Vasco quietly leaves the drinks at Daniel's door and walks away, tears streaming down his face. He doesn't want to wake his friend, only remembering his birthday is coming up, his heart aching. Seeing his mother's tiny back carrying such a heavy burden, Daniel finally wakes up. Staring at his swollen, weak self in the mirror, he swears he can't keep living like this. He has to change. Under the sunset, Vasco suddenly blocks handsome Daniel's path. His eyes are burning with rage as he spits out, "I saw everything, you bastard." Without explanation, Vasco orders Daniel to follow him, clearly looking for a fight. Daniel follows, completely bewildered and terrified by the sudden hostility. At the empty construction site, Vasco rips off his jacket, radiating pure aggression. Daniel stands there shaking, suffocated by the tension, having no idea what he did wrong. Vasco cracks his knuckles, the sound echoing like a countdown. He's dead serious, ready to beat this pretty boy who exploits his friends into the ground. It's a huge misunderstanding. Vasco convinced himself that this handsome guy is enslaving the little one and his mom, living off their blood and sweat. His rage boils over. Thinking of that crumpled 5,001 bill and the enslaved little guy, Vasco snaps. He decides this scum who exploits his parents and the weak needs to be punished, right now. Giving no chance to explain, Vasco roars "You're dead," and launches a devastating punch straight into Daniel's face, putting all his rage into the blow. This is awkward. Vasco thought it'd be an easy win, but the tattooed guy moves like a pro, dodging the ambush with terrifying speed. No time for excuses. The scammer tries to talk his way out, but the guy shuts him down instantly, a hammer-like fist smashing his words right back into his throat. That punch would have been fatal. The tattooed guy attacks fiercely, but he's shocked. This big guy fights like a novice, yet his dodging instinct is absolute monster tier. One down. The tattooed guy turns his cold stare to the terrified suit guy. No small talk, he demands the money stolen from the lady, radiating pure intimidation. The suit guy finally connects the dots. These guys are here for the victim he bullied. He thought he could exploit the weak, but he just kicked a steel wall. Mention the money, and the scammer snaps. That's his loot. Greed overrides fear, and he explodes into a desperate rage, refusing to let go of the cash. Desperate to keep the cash, the suit guy drops into a boxing stance. He looks trained, but to a pro, his form screams amateur street fighter. Facing a boxer, the tattooed guy gets serious. He shifts into a Muay Thai stance. If the scammer wants a fight, he's about to get a brutal lesson in knees and elbows. A clean straight punch lands. But the moment it connects, the suit guy realizes something odd. This muscle-bound giant has zero technique. He's a total newbie. The fight ends abruptly. Vasco, the invincible leader, lies defeated in the rubble. Brute strength just crumbled before superior technique. The scammer stares at his fallen opponent, sweating bullets. He can't believe he won. Clutching the cash in his pocket, pure terror turns into sheer relief. Looking back, Vasco actually threw a solid spinning back elbow. But against a real pro, that split-second difference in speed cost him everything. Sitting in the dirt, Vasco faces the harsh truth. His opponent is a Muay Thai master, and raw power isn't enough. Head down, he admits defeat. While Vasco swallows his defeat, across the city, Daniel works his quiet night shift, completely unaware of the storm heading his way. Meanwhile, Navsu gets ready for school. In his head, life is an RPG, and he's just a level 1 noob character equipped with trash gear. He's terrified to wear his mom's old shoes. But at school, instead of mockery, everyone thinks they're rare vintage kicks. Total fluke, but he'll take it. That fluke unlocks a new obsession. He blows his savings on second-hand luxury gear, convinced these items turn him from an NPC into a main character. With a Chrome Hearts ring, his ego explodes. He looks down on normal students, genuinely believing his accessories make him a superior hero. But reality hits hard on the bus. He runs into Zack, a player with maxed out stats and real gear. Namsu's confidence instantly crumbles into dust. Desperate for validation, he tries to flex his ring to anyone who'll look. But right at the peak of his showing off, he sees something that stops him dead. The quiet blonde guy seemed invisible, but looked closer, fingers covered in Chrome Hearts, Hermes gear, and Louboutin kicks. He's actually filthy rich. Nasu finally gets noticed by the rich crowd thanks to his new ring. He's loving the attention, until they start talking about buying motorbikes like it's pocket change. Then Daniel walks in, looking absolutely flawless from head to toe. Everyone's in awe, except for Zack, who steps up and growls a warning, "Stay away from Mira." But the admiration turns to suspicion fast. Perfect looks, sure, but why the beat-up bag and the same old Converse? People are starting to whisper that he might be poor. The rumor that Daniel is broke spreads like wildfire. Even Vasco hears it and looks totally shocked, while his gang wonders where their leader disappeared to. Jace is losing his mind with worry. No word from Vasco at all. The silence in the locker room is heavy, and he knows something is wrong. Finally, a text. Vasco says his screen broke, but sends a screenshot of a puppy. Jace loses it. "You can't screenshot a cracked screen, you idiot." The gang screams for revenge, but Jace shuts them down. If Vasco is lying, he has a reason. Jace decides to trust his leader and hold the line. School's out and everyone's making plans. Even Jace says a friendly goodbye. But left alone at the window, Daniel looks lost rather than happy. His mom calls for his birthday, but he totally forgot. While classmates mock his brandless clothes behind his back, he hangs up, feeling like a complete fake and a loser. Someone is plotting to expose Daniel's poverty to the girls. Meanwhile, in a dark alley, a group of thugs are smoking and waiting for trouble. These guys are Burn Knuckles members gone rogue. They hate taking orders from Jace and decide to jump the new transfer student just to prove a point. The trap is set. The thugs are giggling with anticipation as Daniel walks out of the school gates, smiling peacefully into the sunset, totally unaware. Daniel's thinking about his lonely birthday when someone suddenly blocks his path. He flinches, startled, but it's just Jay, the quiet rich kid. Jay drops a huge bag of clothes right in front of him. He awkwardly claims he was just going to throw them out because they didn't fit, but he's clearly lying. Daniel knows these aren't trash. He realizes Jay is trying to help without embarrassing him. He smiles and thanks him, while Jay stands silently, hiding his good deed. Jay leaves, and Daniel looks down the alley. Holy cow. It's not just one bag. There's a mountain of luxury shopping bags piled up. This is insane. But wait, next to the gifts, bodies are scattered everywhere. It's the thugs who were planning to jump him. They've all been beaten to a pulp. Jay did this. The battered thug wonders who that blonde monster was. Meanwhile, back at school, the bullies are cluelessly planning to mock Daniel's clothes again tomorrow. Daniel steps in looking like a millionaire. Balmac coat, Valentino studs. The bullies who plan to jump him are frozen, jaws dropping at this insane transformation. While girls swoon over the price tag, Daniel casually calls his outfit cheap stuff. That comment destroys the boys if that's cheap to him. Just how filthy rich is his family? Daniel smiles, claiming it's just unbranded old clothes from his mom. The glasses guy crumbles inside. He screams at his mom for designer gear, yet Daniel looks confident in old clothes. The shame hits him hard. Daniel happily greets Jay, loving the fit of the clothes. But Jay just sits there silently, unable to voice his thoughts. As night falls over the city, the clock ticks closer to Daniel's birthday. On the floor of a luxury apartment, torn-up notes are scattered everywhere. To Daniel, let's be friends. The sender agonized all night, writing and tearing up his true feelings, too shy to say them out loud.